My name is Brian Hamm. I'm President and CEO of McDaniel Associates, which is a reservoir engineering consulting firm here in Calgary, Alberta. We're coming up on 70 years in the petroleum industry here in Calgary. The best way I like to explain it is that we evaluate how much oil or gas is left in the ground and what the value of that oil and gas might be. And we act as kind of an independent third party for the valuation of a set of assets. And so if a certain oil and gas company is looking to buy another oil and gas company, they might inquire with us about the value of that purchase. Or if a bank is looking to borrow some money to an oil and gas company, they might come to us for a third party opinion of the value of that asset to borrow against. And so we're kind of somewhere between engineering and geology and banking. I think the energy industry in general, in particular, the petroleum component of the energy industry is under significant attack from multiple angles right now. And so I think it's a fundamental part of the Canadian economy and obviously a huge part of the economy here in Alberta and quite literally keeps the lights on around us. So I think it's very important that those of us within the industry to do what we can to try to advocate to continue building an even stronger Canadian energy industry. Many people, and in particular, I think our own children, are taught that there's one fundamental person that you can blame, and it's the big bad oil man over there. And obviously we don't see it that way. We think that energy is something that everybody needs and helps enrich everybody's lives, and that the petroleum industry in particular is a large component of that energy mix in the world. And so we're really focused on spreading truth around our industry and speaking to what we can do to mitigate our impact to the environment, rather than just suggest that we should shut the whole thing down and go into an ice age effectively. Our firm evaluates oil and gas properties all over the world, in jurisdictions in Africa and South America and Eastern Asia and all over the place. And I can promise you that if we just take carbon aside for a second, the rest of the environmental regulations that we have in Canada are far superior to the rest of the industry in the world right now. Now, more recently, we're seeing tons of support around carbon capture and sequestration, where we have companies and now with government support ready and willing to spend billions of dollars to implement carbon capture on their large plants and to permanently store that underground. You'd be hard-pressed to find another jurisdiction that is taking it as seriously as Canada. As a percentage of the world share, yes, we're a relatively small component. On an emission per barrel standpoint, sometimes we would actually measure higher than world average in many cases. And we can't only measure environmental impact by CO2 per barrel. We should also measure it by all other environmental impacts that are on the water systems and on the land and on NOx and SOx and all sorts of other things that are controlled in Canada that aren't controlled in other jurisdictions. And I would say we as industry are prepared to be measured on CO2 per barrel. Just let us go at it. If we can build carbon capture on your home ground in Fort McMurray, we can build carbon capture on these plants. They'll be competitive with some of the lowest CO2 oil in the world. And if you could secure low CO2 oil that also has check marks for all other environmental standards from a democracy that treats its people correctly, why wouldn't you want to buy that